The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 1A of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, the Great Disney World Adventure, Part 1.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jemmy and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
I am your girl from the coast, Jemmy.
And I am country boy Glenn, and thank you for joining us on the very first official episode of the Finding Florida podcast.
Okay, to be honest, we're still kind of in recovery mode from our first adventure challenge in Disney, but on this episode, we'll make you feel learned with more fun Disney facts, introduce you to Jay, Disney's assistant manager of operations at Tri-Circle D Ranch, and then get into a whole bunch of other fun Florida stuff. Listen in.
Together at Disney. Your attention, please. Remain seated.
All right, guys. So on this innovative and interactive podcast, we're going to be asking you guys to help us choose our adventures. And then we're going to present those adventures in a pair of episodes. On the very first episode, the A episode, will be the episode just like this, where we're introducing you to the town, sharing some fun facts, perhaps having an interview with someone from that town. And then in the B side of the episode, we're going to take you on our adventure, which will be either a listener-inspired adventure challenge, or it'll be a Glenn and Jemmy inspired road trip adventure. So
our listeners from our previous podcast helped us pick these and issued this challenge, and they really threw a wrench in it when they said we had to do 10 free things at Disney in one day. That was bad enough, but then they threw in Disney. We had to do it all in Disney transportation. And as you'll hear, there were some things we didn't count on. So we'll get to that in a little bit too. We did have a blast doing this, and I think you're going to hear that in the next episode, 1B. And we met some fun people and some interesting people and some intoxicated people along the way at Disney.
Some highly intoxicated.
And we're going to have those all be in there. You really do follow our adventure from the time we arrive at the parking lot at 7:30 in the morning till we're done at almost 10 o'clock at night. And did we accomplish our goal? That's what you're going to find out.
I mean, our first hiccup happened before we even got started.
Yes, that is true. And you're going to hear that in there too. It is a lot of fun. We added a lot of music. There's a lot. I think you're going to love that episode. But this episode is all about a lead up to our adventure and sharing with you a little bit about where we're going and what we're doing. And also the second half of this episode is all about Florida, because we are finding Florida.
Oh, and also along the way, by the way, we took a ton of pictures. We shared just a small sprinkling on social media. So make sure you go check out the show notes actually on the website at findingfloridapodcast.com.
Feel the joy that's all around you. Share the dream come true. Together at Disney.
So we're going to be talking a lot about Disney on this episode. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize, did you know, Glenn, that Disney is actually its own town?
Yes.
It's an official town. And most people are like, okay, you guys are spotlighting towns and fun things to do in Florida. Why did you not start with a town? Well, we did start actually with a town. Disney is a town, which I think is so cool.
And it spills over a couple counties, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, because when they were originally building it, Disney figured, okay, if it spans a couple of different counties, it's going to be really, really tricky for us to get all the permits between each place, get all this stuff. So they thought, let's just petition Florida and see if we can become our own town so we can skirt all that red tape. And Florida actually approved it. May 12th, 1967, they approved their own district for Disney. So Disney is its own town. I think that's so cool.
Reedy Creek.
That's
right. Reedy Creek Improvement District is what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't the fire department, I think, is Reedy Creek, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's a Reedy Creek Fire Department, which they ran us over when we were there.
See, and all I'm picturing is a fire engine roaring down the street, blasting Disney songs. A alarm.
Actually, it was a traditional siren, if I remember right. But that's funny. I like that.
Yeah. Disney gets a ton of like visitors, and it's one of the most visited places. I think I actually heard a rumor that the castle itself is one of the most photographed places on the planet.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah. You know, they bought 43 square miles of Central Florida swampland. It was a swamp. And, he bought it for $5 million. And that was $185 an acre at the time. Now it's in the 60s, so it's obviously more now. And then, unfortunately, he died right before the construction even really started. And he had, really designed the first Epcot, too. I mean, Magic Kingdom was the first of the parks. But he had kind of designed his theory on Epcot. It didn't end up being exactly what he had planned. I know. But, he kind of had
supposed to be like city where people actually lived and stuff.
Well, and Celebration was kind of what they tried to do then to fulfill that dream.
Right.
Which we actually stopped at too. We were there as well. Yeah. When Disney World opened, get this, the admission to the park for a day was $3.50. Now, when we were there the other day, it was $120. So there's some inflation for you.
So we do complain a little bit about how challenging our challenge was from our listeners, but thank you so much to them for including the word free.
Free, yeah. Would have cost us a fortune otherwise.
Gave us every excuse in the world to not go into the park.
Each day, an average of 210 pairs of sunglasses are turned into the Disney's Lost and Found. And and this is amazing, there are almost 75,000 cast members in Central Florida and 47,000 visitors on average per day at Magic Kingdom alone. Jennifer and I were there a couple of weeks ago, and I think there were 47,000 people there. It was pretty crowded.
Honestly, when you think about all the transportation, because we got to see it up close and personal, but how well all of that must move in tandem with one another. Everything has to groove perfectly to make it not feel like you're around 47,000 people. It's crazy.
You don't even have these, but I did some statistics on our adventure you're going to hear in the next episode. Yeah. And this is what I counted. We went, and we didn't count on this. We went through 7 security stops. They have security everywhere now. And we kept getting on and off transportation that had security stops. And
literally to go from one boat to another.
I had the wrong shorts on because they had buttons on them, metal buttons, and they kept wanding me at every security stop because I kept going through the metal detectors. And
I had the big backpack on. I was in before he was every time.
And you had microphones and all. I was surprised they didn't stop you for any of what you had in your bag. Nope. Lord knows what was in there. We went through 42 doors, by the way, all day long. We traveled 20 miles on Disney transportation during the day. We had only 4 alcoholic beverages. You guys can be very proud of us.
Wah, wah, wah.
We had 6 different kinds of...
He can't read his own handwriting.
I can't read it. Oh, I got it. We saw 6 different kinds of animals, and we heard about 1,000 languages.
Wait, only 6 different kinds of animals?
Yeah, that's all we saw, actually. They were real light in the savannah that day.
Did you count that crazy huge grasshopper in the flower that we saw?
No, I did not count the grasshopper or the Disney squirrels or ducks. I should have counted those too. All right, 12 different kinds of Disney animals.
That's right.
Languages, there were people there from everywhere. And
I know.
And a little bit about my co-host, Jemmy. She apparently knows 50 languages because she kept talking to people in other languages all day long. It was bizarre.
I used my 2 sentences that I knew in all 53 languages.
It worked. They understood you.
And then ushered people away very quickly where they got on.
So, yeah, and they actually set up about 1,500 Christmas trees at holiday time. It's one of our favorite times to go to Disney. We go every year at Christmas, and we go to Magic Kingdom because it's kind of the place to be. They had the Osborne lights with over 1 million lights at the Hollywood Studios, but that's not there anymore, and we miss that. We used to go there every year.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about the big, huge Christmas trees that they put up at the Floridian. I wonder if that's out of the 1,500 Christmas trees that they do every year.
If you count that one, it's about 50 because you can put 50 regular Christmas trees into that one. It's huge. It is huge. And of course, there's many different parks now from when they opened. It's expanded. Everybody kind of knows that story. But now you haven't.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. I have to tell you, I did in my research find some really weird things that people have lost in these parks.
Okay. All right. Good.
And this is all stuff that's been claimed. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
This is just a couple of them. All right. So a potty trainer, like that little portable potty that your kid can sit on. Like, okay, I get it. It's hard. I have a child. Like sometimes getting to the bathroom quickly is a challenge, but
do you bring your potty trainer? You don't bring yours along?
Be in front of all these people. So a potty trainer, a prosthetic leg, which I would love to hear the story.
Came off on a ride?
I don't know, but I want the story. And then this one takes the cake. You ready for this one? A glass eye.
Oh.
I would have loved to have seen the expression on the person's face who found it.
Yes, yes. And the poor guy who lost it could only see half the park that day.
I know.
Poor guy.
God. But yeah, I wonder what are some of the crazy stories that perhaps our listeners have of things that they've lost at the parks. I've never lost anything too crazy. Have you?
No, I think at one time a phone. But
I think you lost your sanity the last time.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that might be true. Have you been to Disney a lot?
A ton. It's been very light the last few years. I went about a 10-year span where I didn't really ever go, but I grew up down here. So yeah, it was like, I think I went a couple times as a kid. But then in middle school, when you start going on those like overnight field trips and stuff, a lot of them were to Disney. And then in 8th grade, our big like 8th grade trip was to Disney. It was about 3 nights. I think, what do they do it in high school? It's called grad night, where the seniors go out for a night. So ours was a junior senior trip. And it was always to Disney. So when I was a sophomore, I got invited by a junior. So I got to go. I got to go then as a junior, and then I got to go as a senior. So I went to 3 grad nights in a row in high school, all at Disney. And those were a lot of fun. Let's see. But then I just didn't really ever go, like when I went off to college and stuff, and I really came back and went. But then, of course, I had a kid. And so
back to Disney.
Totally. It's so different when you have a kid. Oh my God. First of all, just logistically, because you're planning your day completely different. You have to make sure you don't go too long without eating, without drinking water, without going to the bathroom. Like that has to be, everything is planned out for that. Anything that's longer than like a 45-minute wait in line, you just simply can't do it. You got to account for temper tantrums. It's the whole lot. Then the types of rides you're going are completely different. Like scratch out all the scary, roller coasters.
What, you had never been on Dumbo before?
No, somehow I had missed that one every year. And then now scratch in like all of the character meet and greet. So now you're in line for an hour and a half, not to go on a crazy cool ride, but to meet Winnie the Pooh.
For 2 seconds and get your picture and out. How, kid?
Oh my God. A totally different experience.
One of the reasons we moved to Florida 6 years ago was to get annual passes. We've been coming to Disney every year for like 20 some years. And Jennifer and I are just basically kids at heart. And we just love Disney. So that's one of the reasons we moved here. And we had our annual passes for years. And we still go back several times a year to Disney. We just like it there. I think we've ridden everything 1,000 times. Space Mountain's still one of our favorites. You
still have to get me on that thing because I've still never been.
Oh, we're going to get you on Space Mountain. Count on that. Next trip, we're going to get you on Space Mountain. But you know what? You guys will find out that there's a horse farm there. And Jemmy knew this because she stayed at Fort Wilderness at the campground. And a lot of people don't realize there's horses there. And you can do some riding while you're there, as well as carriages and a lot of other things. And we had a chance to catch up with Jay, who's Disney's assistant manager of operations at Tri-Circle D Ranch at Fort Wilderness.
Hurry up, Donald!
Well, we have Jay on here, who is the Assistant Animal Operations Manager for Tri-Circle D Ranch over at Fort Wilderness at Disney World. And we're highlighting little-known things that people may not have come across before, but that are super fun to do in Florida. And I have done everything there is to do with the horses at the park, and that's why we wanted to have you on. A lot of people are surprised, even horse people, that there are stables at Disney World.
Yes, there certainly are. We have 92 horses that live and work here at the Walt Disney World Resort and Campground.
And you offer a variety of things to do, right?
We do. So we have activities for the little ones and activities for the older kids and adults as well. We do pony rides for children that are under 80 pounds and
that'd be you,
under 48 inches.
Jemmy, we'll get you on the pony ride.
I don't think I quite qualify for the height requirement.
But that's okay. We've got activities for you to do also. Don't worry about that.
And the trail riding, I got to do that the last time I was there, which was super fun. And if you've never been on a horse before, you want to trail ride a Disney horse because they're going to take care of you.
We certainly will. We have amazing guides that will take you out on the ride to see Florida's natural beauty. There are armadillo out there. There's deer, lots of different birds to see. Oftentimes we'll see a group of turkeys pass by the trail. So there's lots to see. And my guides are very well versed at seeing what type of wildlife are out there and to make sure that you guys have a great time.
They were terrific when we did our ride last year. They were great. And the horses are super quiet. I mean, you're going to be fine even if you've never ridden before.
So wait, on that note though,
yeah,
I took Jordan, I have a 5-year-old, but when he was turning 4 for his 4th birthday, we went to Disney, stayed at Fort Wilderness. And of course I took him over to see the horses and they're beautiful, but he's never seen horses before. So they were super intimidating to a 4-year-old. But to anybody who's intimidated by them, because, you know, you see them in pictures or something, but if you've never been around horses, if you're a city person like me, then you're just not exposed to them. Like, what do you do to help get people comfortable and on a horse?
Well, you talk about Jordan, you know, depending on what the comfort level is, a lot of it is just building that trust with the animal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have guests that don't really want to ride the pony, but our ranch hands will certainly take the time to educate our guests about how we take care of them, how we groom them. Sometimes having the opportunity to touch or pet or braid one of the ponies is just as much of a memorable experience as it would be riding. So although riding is certainly a fun activity, just being around the horses and getting to feel that sense of comfort and that rural, rustic feel that we offer here at Fort Wilderness is certainly a memory that we want our guests to take away.
Mm. And there's something else fun that they could both do together and sit right beside each other, and that's the carriage rides.
Exactly. Yes, we do carriage rides in the evening here at Fort Wilderness, as well as one of our other resorts, Port Orleans, Riverside Resort. And those rides happen in the evening, so it's a great way to enjoy dinner and then finish out your dinner with a romantic or family-themed ride together. It can be a party of 2, or it can be a party of 4, or 2 adults and 3 children, depending on the size of the party. And those happen every 25 minutes throughout the evening.
Yeah, I got to take a carriage ride.
You did?
Ride courtesy of Glenn, not at Disney, but when I was at Glenn's
my
place in Ocala. Yeah, we got a little bit of a taste of that. So I'd love to do that at Disney. It'd probably be so fun.
It is cool. And, you know, one of the things, too, is we're in the time of year when everybody decorates their campsites. We're at the Halloween time. There's all kinds of Halloween decorations. And then Christmas, they go nuts. People who camp there go crazy with decorations.
They certainly do, Glenn. And that's the great thing about our carriage and wagon rides, which we haven't touched on yet. But our carriage and wagon rides here at Fort Wilderness will actually go through the campsite loops. And as you mentioned, our guests spend a lot of time and energy into decorating those sites. They actually even have a site decorating contest right around Halloween and at Christmas for the guests that are staying here. But what's great is that even if you're not staying here and you do take advantage of some of the activities here on our property, you can still take a carriage or drive through or walk through the sites and really get the feeling that you're celebrating the holidays, whether it be Halloween or Christmas, to really get in the spirit.
Well, what are some of the more fun ways to go back and forth between Fort Wilderness and some of the parks, like Magic Kingdom, back to Fort Wilderness? Like, let's say you spent the day at the park. What's a great fun way to get to Fort Wilderness at the end of the day and check out the horses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple different modes of transportation. One, which is certainly fun, especially when it's great weather, is taking the boat. So there's a boat launch from Magic Kingdom that you can take over to Fort Wilderness, and it will drop you right off by the settlement area. There's a Crockett's Tavern. You can enjoy a beverage, stop at the merchandise trading post, which is just right off the way. And then behind there is where we have our stables, which is very close to the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. And if you haven't done the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review, it certainly is one of my favorite dinner show activities that we have here at the Walt Disney World Resort. And you can't beat the all-you-can-eat fried chicken, cornbread, and
now you're talking my language.
It's good. It's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So one way is by boat. The other way is by bus. So you can certainly take a bus from the parks over to Fort Wilderness. The Fort Wilderness Resort is a large resort. As you can imagine, it's a campground. We have both campsites for guests to be able to bring their tent or an RV, but we also have cabins. So the property itself is quite large. However, we do have internal buses that go from the front of Fort Wilderness to the back. So depending on what your goal is, if you want to stop by and see the trading post, if you want to stop by and see Chippendale's campfire that we have in the evening. Certainly, there's different locations within the property that you can take those buses internally. We also
and the campfires were. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. We also offer golf cart rentals. So if you're staying here or just here for the day, you can rent a golf cart and be able to navigate throughout the property.
And the campfire is where people can like roast marshmallows and stuff at the end of the night too, right? So that's kind of an added little thing for people to do. It's lots of fun.
You got that. Yeah, so you can roast marshmallows to make s'mores. They do a movie, and then certainly our two mascots of the resort, which are Chippendale, they come out and greet our guests, which we love seeing the happy faces when Chippendale come out to visit.
And if you're getting married at Disney World, there's one other thing you can do with horses, right?
You certainly can. So one of our most notable carriages is Cinderella's coach. So certain times throughout the day, you may be riding on a monorail and look down at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and be able to see our Cinderella coach pulled by 6 white Shetland ponies.
To the cutest things ever.
So beautiful.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
It is beautiful. And then with, having the Grand Floridian as the backdrop isn't too bad either. It's a nice deal. Well, Jay, where can people find out more about all the horse stuff that goes on at Disney World?
Well, if you go to DisneyWorld.com and you type in ranch, you'll be able to populate the Tri-Circle D Ranch page. And from there, it will give you all the information of times, pricing, as well as a link for you to be able to find out more information and to call to book all of the activities here, which would be 407 WDW Play.
Very good. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Well, thank you to Jay from Tri-Circle D Ranch, one of the many hidden things that you can do at Disney. Well, the next episode 1B, is our adventure. You're going to follow along with us the entire day. And I think you're going to have some fun as well.
Oh, yeah. Guess what time it is, Glenn?
I don't know. What time is it?
It's time for us to find out more fun stuff about Florida. Ready?
Ready.
I would dot the West with little hometowns and fill the East with excitement. Right in the middle, I put a great big playground. I would surround it all with water from coast to coast to coast, and I'd give it a name, Florida.
All right, so first up, I have a mystery sound for you, Glenn. I want you to try to guess. Now, ultimately, it's going to be up to our listeners to guess the right answer. So the first person to guess this mystery sound is a sound from the Florida backyard somewhere, right? So that's a hint that it's an animal.
Was it in your backyard?
Critter. No.
Oh, okay.
It's not in. This one was in the backyard of the internet.
Okay.
But I still found it. And so the first person to identify what this sound is and email me at Jamie, that's how I say it for email purposes, JAIME at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com, or to leave a comment under our post on Facebook, will win some fun Finding Florida podcast swag. So here we go. I'm going to ask you, Glenn, to try to identify. You're going to hear some crickets or something in the foreground. That's not the sound.
Oh,
it's
okay.
the sound in the back.
I could have gotten
right?
that.
Yeah, not making it that easy for you. All right, ready? Hit it. Your face is awesome.
Disney ducks.
Disney ducks? That's a good guess. We did mention Disney ducks in the episode.
Not Disney ducks?
No, but it is not Disney ducks. So if anybody out there can identify what that sound is, I hope you heard it closely. Play it one more time real quick for the people. Super fast. Just another little taste. If you can tell us what that is, email me, JAIME at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com, or leave a comment under our Facebook post and let us know what that is. You'll win some fun swag.
And that's under Finding Florida Podcast on Facebook.
That's right. That's right. So now I also have another quick quiz for you, Glenn.
Okay.
I have a fun clip. So I came across this while I was searching for the mystery sound, and we here in Florida are kind of known for our crazy behavior, just a little bit. I think we've been nicknamed as Florida from time to time. So with that in mind, I'd like to challenge you to dig back into your improv experience. Not many people know, but Glenn is a former improver. So I want you to try to tell me what this lady might say towards the end of this news story, okay?
Okay.
All right. So an unsatisfied, this comes from Fox News, by the way, foxnews.com. An unsatisfied customer in Melbourne, Florida, was arrested last week for assaulting a 7-Eleven employee with hot nacho cheese. So Florida. According to the Palm Bay Daily, a woman entered the 7-Eleven at around 1:50 a.m. It's prime Florida time.
Yeah, when everybody eats nacho cheese.
On Thursday morning. It's not even like 7 a.m. on Sunday morning or Saturday morning.
No,
Thursday morning.
we don't limit our drinking to the weekends.
She was looking to buy a sandwich and a cup of the aforementioned liquid cheese. The clerk, however, had reportedly asked this person to refrain from opening the hot cheese dispenser, a request this woman didn't appreciate, as she later told cops she wasn't a fan of the clerk's attitude. Because it's so out of this world for the clerk to be like, no, keep the lid on it.
Don't dip your hands in the cheese.
So the woman then tried to pay for her food, which is shocking in and of itself. Yeah. But the clerk refused to ring her up. So in retaliation, the woman threw both the sandwich and the hot cheese across the counter, covering the clerk's hands and feet in the gooey orange condiment.
That hurt.
Here's where you're going to have to come in and fill in the blank.
All right.
The woman, 31, then waited outside the front door of the 7-Eleven for police to arrive, but not before angrily reminding the clerk that... Fill in the blank. What do you think she said?
The customer is always right.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it right.
I did?
You so got it right. So after throwing...
Because that's what they would say here.
Poor clerk, she turns around. The customer is always right.
Please tell me she went to jail. Please tell me.
And that, our friends, is Florida.
Welcome to Florida.
So you'd be relieved, Glenn. I actually also found a story when we were bashing around Disney. You insisted on stopping for breakfast at a particular restaurant we won't name.
Yes.
And I actually found a story about there being rodent droppings.
Oh, no.
At this restaurant.
Oh, no.
So thanks again, Glenn, for a wonderful, wonderful meal.
I am here to please.
Oh my gosh.
Well, one of the other reasons that we decided to do this show was because you and I are so different.
Yes.
Okay, we have one black, one white, one tall, one short. We have a little bit of one girl, one guy, an age difference there too, a little few years. And also, you're from the city and the beach. You grew up down there on the beach, and I'm from the country here in the middle part of the state on the farms and all of that.
I don't know how we get along so well, but
I don't know. I don't know either, actually. We actually have nothing in common. So I came up with a little quiz for you.
Yay.
We're going to call this the unstable segment because that kind of describes both of us together. So I'm going to ask you some questions from the country. Now, these can involve horses or farms or whatever. And you have to try and come up with the answers. You can play along at home, too, all you city folks who have no idea what I'm talking about.
And all you country folks can play along by laughing at us.
Yes. So this is a completely different meaning for you, I think. What does roaching mean?
Roaching? What kind of meaning do you think that would have for me? Oh, I get it. Took me a second. Okay, so in the world I'm more familiar with, roaching means when you take the end of a marijuana cigarette and perhaps it's just the little nub that's left and you relight it and you take another couple of puffs.
Okay, I didn't even know that, so now I'm learning too.
So what is it in your world, Glenn?
I don't know. You got a guess for me?
Okay. So that doesn't count as my guess. So my guess is making sure that there are no roaches in the stables by putting some sort of roach killer stuff down on the floor. I don't know. That's roaching.
That's a good guess. Because we all do deal with roaches here in Florida. It's something that we have.
Palmetto bugs.
Palmetto bugs.
If you don't know what those are, look those up.
Yeah, look those up. You'll find them in your next time you visit down here.
Your face. Yeah. You'll find them in your face.
So what does roaching mean? It is actually when a horse's mane, the hair that's on his neck, the mane, when you take and you shave it. You give him a crew cut. That's
How is roaching. Where does that roaching? What is the origins of this?
I don't know.
I need to understand.
Are you ready for the next one?
I'm ready because I don't understand the first one.
What is a cast horse? C-A-S-T. What is a cast horse?
Ooh, a cast horse is a horse that's made of metal, and it's used to make horse figurines. That's a cast horse.
You know what? That's actually an accurate answer. It is an accurate answer because you would cast a horse to make a sculpture, right? So you're right about that. But a cast horse actually means that the horse is in the stall and he lays down to go to sleep and then he rolls over and his feet get stuck against the wall and he can't get up.
Oh.
So that's what they call it when a horse is cast against the wall and they can't get up and you got to go in and help them get up.
Oh, that sounds very dangerous.
It is. We once had a very large draft horse, think Clydesdale size, who got cast in the stall, and we actually had to tie 4 ropes to its feet and pull him over, 4 of us. And the dangerous part is when he comes over, if they try and scramble to stand up, you're in the way.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Nothing happened. We rolled him over. He looked at us and said, thanks. And he laid there, slept for more. So nothing happened with that one. All right. One more question for you, also involving horses in our unstable segment. How many frogs does a horse have?
Ooh, this one I know.
I know. That's why I gave it to you.
I think it's 4. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. Now tell everybody what a frog is.
So I don't actually 100% know, but here's why I was so confident. Because Glenn comes from the Horse Radio Network. That's what he founded. And he has this special closed Facebook group called HRN Auditors. And I scan through that every once in a while because there's some awesome people. And one person posted a picture of the underside of their horse's foot, their shoe. And inside of it was a impressed dead frog. And then they made some sort of punny joke about a frog. So I'm like, that must also be what they
that's that
call
little V part
horseshoes
underneath.
or something.
No, it's a little V part of their foot underneath. It's called a frog. That's right.
So I used a little bit of my prior research.
Very good. And you've cleaned one horse's feet now. So you've actually seen a frog.
Actually, 2, because I cleaned both Scooter and Nigel's feet.
Look at you.
Yeah, I think I did. It's all a blur.
You have now had experience with 8 frogs.
I know. Yay,
Good job. You got 1 out of 2.
Yay. Yay. All right. So now the last one I'll throw back at you, Glenn.
Yes.
Is I also came across a funny story, interesting story, talking about animals and people's pets. So this lady out in the Keys, I'll just read the story, and I'm going to just do a blank wherever it mentions the animal, and I want you to guess what kind of animal she has as a pet. Okay, ready? All right, so this is from Key West. There's a little bit of a clue. Okay, here we go. Some people walk their pets. Carly Venezia takes her pet paddleboarding. Venezia can often be seen standing up while paddleboarding in the Florida Keys with her 1-year-old blank Loretta.
Alligator.
I'm not done with the story.
Oh.
Loretta is very curious and follows us around the yard, Venezia said. Living in the Florida Keys, we like to get out on the water, so it only seemed natural to us to take Loretta paddleboarding and boating and things that we like to do with our dogs. It's not unusual to see blank in the Keys, but it's not every day that blank indulge in recreational water activities. Venezia said Loretta likes to sit at the front of the board and enjoy the serene settling of a Keys sunset. Paddleboarding's very calming, and I like hanging out with Loretta, Venezia said. She's an awesome pet to have. So for us, I like coming out here and getting to enjoy the beautiful sunset. It's what makes living in the Keys so special. So any guesses?
I'm going alligator. I'm still sticking with alligator. If you read it back now and say alligator where there's a blank, it'll be funny.
Except here's the part where she says that Loretta is very curious and follows us around the yard. If it's an alligator, it's not curious, it's hungry. Like slow down.
Well, she didn't say whether the other pets are still around. She never said that. Her dog's missing, her cat's missing, but Loretta's happy.
No, this is very Florida Keys. You ready?
Yes.
It's a rooster. A pet rooster that she puts on the front of her paddleboard and goes paddleboarding.
Now that you can picture.
Swear to God. I will put a link in the show notes. Okay. It's hilarious.
Is that pictures? Because I want to see pictures.
Oh, yeah, okay. Absolutely. Pictures come with this story. It's hysterical. Actually, a video, too, so I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Very good.
And if Carly is listening, because I'm immediately a fan of you and Loretta, so if you happen to catch this show, please write in JIME at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. I'd love to get your story and find out more about you and Loretta.
Well, there's so much to do in the town of Disney, and you just got an inside peek into our fun adventure episode at Disney that will be coming up next, episode 1B. Take a look on your feeds for that. And as for our next adventure, well, we are checking out the animals of Route 1, and it's one of our road trip adventures, not a challenge adventure, but the second kind, our road trip adventures, and that means we're going to be heading up Route 1 from about Palm Beach, down where Jemmy lives, up north, and we're going to find all the things that involve animals. And no, that doesn't mean scraping up roadkill, and it does mean the four-legged animals, not the kind we heard about with the nacho cheese earlier. That means visiting zoos, aquariums, and having as many fun animal interactions as we can. And I'm loving this episode. We both love animals, and there's some things to do there that you maybe not have thought of before, even people who live in that area. So it's going to be a different kind of show, but I think you're going to enjoy that too. It's our road trip on the next episode.
And to find us on social media using the hashtag FindingFL, or to send us an email or see all of our show notes and great pictures and links, whatever, just join us at findingfloridapodcast.com. Oh, and I can't believe I almost forgot to share this with you, Glenn. All right, so I know we're going to be exploring my area pretty soon, but I actually discovered some other really fun things that I want to mention for people to do in Broward just the other night. Can I tell you?
Isn't Broward County the Chad County? from the hanging Chad?
That is Palm Beach County.
Okay.
That's a little close to. It's still too soon. No, Palm Beach County, but this is Broward County, actually. Okay. Yeah. So my best friend,
which is down in your area in Southern Florida.
Exactly. Right. So I live pretty much on the line of Broward and Palm Beach almost. So north of me is Palm Beach, south of me is Broward County. And so last night, my friend Vivi, we went out for her birthday and did a lot more than I intended. And it's worth mentioning. All right. So first of all, I went to this restaurant called Muddy Waters. That's like all pirate themed and like Key Westy and just so quintessential Florida. I was thinking about the podcast the entire time.
Funny how that works.
Whenever you come down to do something that's more specific for Broward, we must go. We must do this. And the food was so good. Service was great. So Muddy Waters on Hillsborough Boulevard for anyone local to Broward. Gotta go. So after that, we went to, have you ever done an escape room?
No, but I've heard about them.
Oh my gosh. So I've done maybe 3 before, and this one was fantastic. It was this place called Think Escape Games, and they have all these different rooms that you can do. And so we did this one called the Shady Tavern, and it was so much fun. So there were 5 of us in our group, and there's a group of 3 celebrating like a bachelor party thing. So we all teamed up, went to the same Shady Tavern room and figured it out all together. Now, what was fun? Do you ever watch Big Brother?
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm batting 0 here. Anybody
no points of reference.
Watches Big Brother. It's like all these different games and tricks. You got to find clues. So, one thing in one area of the room worked on something.
There was a TV show about escape rooms for a while.
Oh, was there?
Yes, we used to watch it. Yep.
Okay, so you're a little familiar.
Yes.
So it was really cool. At one point, there was this like game board maze thing that dropped from the ceiling, and it's huge, a huge table suspended from the ceiling, and then there were like ropes on each corner with a stuffed shark. I swear this is so Florida. A stuffed shark at the end. And so 4 of us had to grab onto these things and then like move them with a ball going through the maze. And so if you pulled up, your corner went down, blah, blah, blah. So
I see.
So much fun. So Think Escape Games in Fort Lauderdale on Oakland Park Boulevard. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. We were Team Rose. We actually, get this, Glenn, we beat the record.
Oh, wow. For time?
Yeah, we got our name on the wall and everything.
Oh, wow.
So if you go in there to see Team Rose, that's us, baby.
I see another listener challenge. How many escape rooms can we do in one day?
Right. Can you actually successfully escape from in one day?
We need a team for that. We need a team of listeners all together, and we'll travel from one to the next.
100%. Yes, that's a great idea.
That is a good idea, actually. How much fun. I've never done one, but I always wanted to.
It's so much fun, Glenn. I have a feeling you and I would rock it. I think you would break a record, just the 2 of us. Let's set goals here. But so the 3 people we're working with were so awesome and nice. We were like instantly friends, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna go get a drink after." I said, "Oh, where?" Glenn. All right. So my response to being in Legoland, which everyone will hear on the next episode, but I was like, it's my Mecca. Oh my gosh. All right. I didn't think it would happen so quickly, but it's already been dethroned. This place was like Heaven's Gates opening for me. It was called 10th Level Tavern, and it was an all video game themed bar. I mean, from everything on the walls, there were like literally video games you could just pull up, sit down, play as much as you wanted. And it was like all different yummy craft beers and stuff. And it was all different kinds of games, from like those old school full table games to the big, huge arcade games, all the way through like PlayStation, Nintendo. It was amazing. I can't even put into words. Like every geeky bone in my body was just super excited that night. It was so much. I could have gotten lost in the decor alone for like days. It was just so cool. So I had to mention those 3 things. I know it's totally random, but for anybody who's in Broward, check out Muddy Waters, Think Escape Games, and 10th Level Tavern. You will not be disappointed.
And here's to your next adventure.
It's time to find sorry.
It's time to
Shut up.
Down in Jamie's part of the state. This is one of our road trip adventures.
Cut.
It is Palm Beach North. Is where we're starting from.
You said Jamie.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. 3, 2, 1. Guess what time it is, Glenn?
No, what time is it?
It's fine. Get this out. Okay, sorry. 3, 2, 1. All right, I am color coding the new stuff.
Oh, do I have to open my show notes?
Oh, you don't have to.
Oh.
But it would be helpful.
Smart ass.
You're so smart.